Yeah, our district's spring halftime show and Schmooze. My name is Daniel Frank. I'm the Institute Director, and I'm here with Jason Ryle, who's the Artistic and Managing Director.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us tonight.
So before I begin, I'd like to just give an acknowledgement, to take a moment to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is part of the treaty lands, the territories of the Mississaugas of the New Credit. It is also the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat nations. This territory is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Treaty, a covenant between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe. So here we are, finally, doing events. It's been a really exciting time for us here at Imaginative and at the Institute. And so I'm just going to give you just a couple points of what we're going to talk about over the course of the next hour. So we'll just spend some time just to kind of orient you a bit to us and the Institute, and just kind of the feeling that we're feeling in the industry right now. Then move towards some of our announcements of some of our other spring events and initiatives and professional development opportunities between now and the summer. We'll then go into forward-looking to the festival for this year, so some things that we have on the burners, or various burners it seems right now. And then we'll go through some of the particular programs of what we've been doing the last 6 months. So the idea of this event was to kind of be a bridge in between the festivals where we have a large industry presence, but we've been able to, over the last 6 months, really activate ourselves with the support of having two of us in the department to be really getting out there to some of those key events that we've wanted to do for a very long time, and now we have kind of a structure to make that happen. And it's been incredibly fruitful.
Sorry, and by two of us, you mean yourself and?
Myself and Adriana Chartrand, who's our Institute Coordinator, and also Jason Ryle. We've been kind of like a triforce going across the world. But yeah, so yeah, I'd like to just say, obviously, so here we are. There's the two of us. We have pictures of us as kids. If you haven't, we have an Institute blog that we started, and we recommend that you go onto that on the Imaginative site. It really kind of gives you, our first one just was published a couple of weeks ago, and it's really just to give you some insight to who we are and our department and what's kind of brought us to this point of doing the kind of work that we do right now. And we've just posted our second blog, which is two different perspectives from the Berlinale and the European film market. So two different artists that were part of two different programs there, and their personal experiences developing their own projects and what were their insights and takeaways after that week. So I fully recommend you go to the Imaginative blog. It's on our main site under one of the tabs there. So please check that out. So I just wanted to say, we're really in a very exciting time, I think, as an organization, and from a professional development standpoint, it's just becoming a watershed year, I think. We've had a really interesting series of conversations, kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back the last year, talking about different types of issues and challenges and successes between, reconciliatory type of subject matter. And I think, the years of us kind of knocking on people's doors and brains, it's finally really coming out with tangible, getting it moments, wanting to work with us and wanting to actively doing things. So it's really exciting. It's almost overwhelming when you've had so many years of just trying to get things through to people's heads and they're actually getting it. I cry about once a week now out of joy, just that these things are actually happening. So it's just a very exciting time.
I'll echo that too. I mean, the Institute is something that we've been wanting to get off the ground for quite some time. I mean, Imaginative has done professional development initiatives for quite a few years now. And really, when we took stock of assessing whether or not we wanted to launch an institute or how to launch an institute, taking stock of the professional development activities we already had underway really was such a full slate of initiatives and programming and labs and opportunities, it really made sense to move in this direction. So it was officially launched this past festival, this past October.
Yes, I've been very, very busy. So what I want to do is just talk to you a bit about just some of the quick upcoming events that you should be aware of on your slate of things. So here we are at our first event, our Schmooze. Hey. And So after this, we'll have a little socializing period. We encourage you to, just mingle with each other. We'll also have a period where any of our online viewers are welcome to ask questions, and we'll take care of those at the end of the session. We'll dedicate some time to that. And just coming up, here we go. We have another event this week, believe it or not. It kind of just was, we were the right people to make it happen, and we are. So we're doing Celebrating Warrior Women, a gathering and a talk this Saturday. So it's a really exciting opportunity for us to give a voice to not only the filmmakers who've made this work, the subjects from this work, who are Madonna Thunderhawk and Marcella Gilbert. They came to us after having been invited to have their world premiere at Hot Docs, and we actually supported this project 2 years ago at Berlin from a promotional standpoint, so it was very exciting to see it come to fruition and to be invited to play at the festival. So they wanted to do some kind of engagement and reception to really celebrate not just the women in their film, but really warrior women, in the industry and in the community. So we thought, hey, let's do an event. We have the space. Let's do it. So we invited as well Don Martin Hill, who's a water advocate based out of Six Nations, and Alanisa Bomswin to come and speak, with Ariel Smith as our moderator, who is our former ED and is now the ED of Native Women in the Arts. So we'll be having a reception. I mean, if you're here, you're welcome to come to it. We just got to get you on that RSVP list, and that will start doors open at 6 o'clock, but we'll actually start at around 6:50. So it should be a really engaging talk. It's going to be full and outside in this room, but we recommend you to come to that. So to fill out the rest of our spring schedule, we have 2 more Institute kind of events happening. One will be in May, on May 31st. So maybe we'll just go until midnight, and then we can kick off National Aboriginal Heritage or Indigenous Heritage Month with a blast. So we're doing something called From Creative to Creative Industry, Kickstarting Your Production Company. So what we're doing is really pairing together some business literacy components. We'll be working with the Bank of Montreal and also with some people in the industry who have actually started production companies, whether they're very established or they're just working into it. We really think that there's so many creatives who are truly independent and don't even maybe have like a company name, and how do you start to learn the language of that to advance your project, to have those qualifications to apply to those larger programs, to do those bigger productions, gives that legitimacy. And then what are kind of the takeaways, and what, with some of the insight from the people who will be coming, like what had they wished they had learned if they had been starting a company now, and what are those key elements that you need to be thinking about. So informational, but also kind of, business literacy. So we hope you can come out to that. And then June, we'll be doing the Imaginative Virtual and Augmented Reality Resident Share All. So that's going to be in late June. And this is really to give an opportunity for our first Institute resident, Nyla Nuksuk, is a VR and 360. She was proclaimed by Playback as the Queen of Indigenous Cinema several years ago, and really is leading the charge on that front in technology and storytelling from this community. And so it's giving her a chance to really talk about the work that she's been doing as the resident, and talk about some of the partnerships that she's done with Sage Paul and with Chief Ladybird, and some of the opportunities that there are for you to explore in an accessible way VR 360 storytelling. So we're very excited about that, and get a preview of the work that she's recently filmed with Sage Paul. So we're in tandem with Indigenous Fashion Week in a way. So we're really excited about that. And then I just wanted to mention a couple professional development opportunities. So I just want to say that we are, following this on our website, we'll have a list of all of these opportunities that I'm talking about, so you don't have to scribble them all down, because none of you have pens, clearly, I can see. But we'll have the links and the details of the deadlines and when you need to apply to them, so that way we're doing the work for you. We just really want you to apply to them. So I think the most kind of pressing one right now is a fantastic initiative that Banff is doing in partnership with the Indigenous Screen Office, Canada Media Fund, and SODEC, and it's called the Banff Diversity of Voices Initiative, and it's really an unprecedented national mentorship and market access program that will bring 100 emerging and established independent Canadian creators with a specific focus on Indigenous, Francophone, and female industry professionals to Banff 2018, which occurs from June 10th to 13th this year. It's incredible. We're helping promote that. We really want to get as many of our creatives, specifically, it's more producer types to be applying to that, but it will jumpstart and supercharge the careers of 100 participants by providing a full access 4-day Banff 2018 registration package, a 3-hour interactive workshop on Sunday morning prior to the start of the Banff conference program, so probably a 101 of how to do it. Participation in a special networking event with international development executives. And in addition, a subgroup of 25 from the program will be selected to take part in the Diversity of Voices pitch program, where they'll receive personalized advice from industry mentors, take pitch meetings with global buyers, and receive a stipend to defray travel costs. So it's really unprecedented. I really think that this is an opportunity not only for them, but for other organizations and markets to follow that initiative. I really want to reach out to Berlin to be doing this. I'm already talking to TIFF about doing this, but how do we get producers these key market opportunities throughout the whole year and access? It's all about access.
And Daniel, there's a really short deadline for that now, isn't there?
Yes, it's Friday.
It's Friday, which is...
So we've been promoting it as much as we can. Last week we've known about it, but it's Friday, and it's not too detailed. They want to stress that it's not necessarily just for emerging. Some people have asked, oh, I'm kind of mid-career, but it really is. If you're mid-career in some ways, but very emerging in the market and market export kind of field, you're in. So it's new in terms of your professional development.
So check out our website. Our Facebook page has the information and the link to all the information and eligibility and requirements, submission requirements for that particular opportunity.
Yeah. We
really want Indigenous filmmakers and producers to apply for this program. So I strongly encourage everyone to check that out.
Yeah, thank you. And so, yeah, the other two initiatives that you can look forward to in June are the APTN and Imaginative web series Open Call. So this is a returning program from last year. It was our first delving into kind of series work. So we partnered with APTN to give the opportunity for 3 creative teams to engage in a virtual web series development program hosted by APTN and into industry web series content developers. The teams will learn how to conceive of projects for the medium and how to execute the required components through APTN's industry standard web series process. They'll develop an original linear web series in English or an Aboriginal language, consisting of 3 or more webisodes, each of which are no less than 2 minutes long to a maximum length of 5 minutes each. The project teams will receive a travel and accommodation subsidy to come to Toronto in October 2018, where each developed pitch will have a 4-hour on-site pre-pitch training session prior to Imaginative. Teams will present their projects. If you're familiar with our pitches, we do these every year, but they pitch to a panel of web series programmers, aficionados, and creators, and the winner receives an APTN web series licensing agreement valued up to $22,000 and additional support from other in-kind partnerships. So it's really fantastic. Darcy Waite and Madison Thomas were our winners last year, and they're literally filming right now their web series, which is called not Spectrum anymore. It's called Cost. C.O.S.T. So we're really excited about that. Madison is a very fantastic short film filmmaker, and we really see that this is a great way and vehicle to tell her story. So the other opportunity that'll be coming up in June is our NFB Imaginative Interactive Partnership. So we've been doing this for 5 years, and we're planning an info webinar to accompany the call for submissions that will come out in June. So really to give us a chance before you apply to know how to work with the NFB and what their processes are and how to really hone a pitch. Come on in, it's all good. So what this project does is support both the development and production phases of one selected project with a focus on artistic cultural experiences for mobile phone, tablet, and virtual reality technologies. The project will premiere to a diverse range of audiences reached through the NFB and Imaginative websites. You must be an Indigenous Canadian or Indigenous artist with Canadian citizenship, and you'll be working with the NFB Digital Studio in Vancouver to develop the project over the course of 1 year. So the budget for the development phase consists of cash in kind of up to $50,000, and then they determine the final scope of the budget based on what the project is. So we've had incredible, maybe Jason, do you want to talk about the incredible success we've had with that, the ice fishing? And
yeah, well, there's been a couple of projects that really had quite a broad reach after being named and working with the NFB on this particular initiative. Jordan Bennett's ice fishing went to the Venice Biennale, what was it, back in 2014, I believe, 2013, 2014, and Tyler Hagen's In the Similkameen Crossings was programmed at Forum Expanded, which opened that particular section in the Marshall McLuhan Salon at the Berlinale about 3 or 4 years ago. So it's been a really wonderful initiative for us, and I think it's been a great way for us to get acquainted with digital and interactive media, which again is an area that we're further developing in terms of presentation at the festival, but also through the Institute.
Yeah. So look forward to that coming up in June. So now we'll just take a moment to look forward to Imaginative this year. So we're only 6 months out. Our little baby's growing right there. We're very excited about it. But we want to just say that Imaginative industry, when it's 9 months out, we're like, we're pregnant. Yay.
That's inside voice, Daniel.
Yeah. Anyway, industry at Imaginative at the festival is going to be bigger and better than ever. So with the incredible changes and opportunities that we'll be telling you about shortly, we're expanding the festival industry series from 2.5 days to 5 days this year, starting on Monday, October 15th, and ending the week of ending on Friday the 19th. So the idea was we have so many amazing things coming up, there was not enough space to contain it, and also not to take away from people who want to see films. So we've really developed this to overlap, start on its own and then overlap as international artists come towards the middle of the week, and then give time for people to just go and enjoy movies for the closing weekend of the festival. So we're really excited about it. It's a huge jump for us, but I think again, the support that we're getting from the industry at large and the things that we see gaps in, we just have to do it. So it's pretty exciting. So this breathing room will allow for expansion of discussions about leading initiatives and infrastructure pertinent to the Indigenous screen community in Canada, and then to issues, opportunities, and leading discussions, workshops, and networking to those of the international community coming in for the Imaginative Festival. So some things to look forward to that are taking shape in addition to our already engaging slate of programming that we do each year include key findings for our highly anticipated on-screen Pathways and Protocols initiative due to be completed in January next year, engagement with the new director of the Indigenous Screen Office, Jesse Wente, a full day dedicated to series work, from TV to web and to digital, taking an account of where we've come as an industry in terms of this work, the opportunities we've found out, and how to look forward and connect people to the industry who are hungry for Indigenous-made series content. We'll also be dedicating a day or most of a day to opportunities for Indigenous content for kids. And so we'll talk a bit more about that. Yes, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be great. We need a whole day for it. Again, taking account to the achievements that have been made within our industry for children's content, but really the unknown opportunities that are ready to be taken on for some of our content creators. And then lastly, with our micro meetings, if you happen to be part of them last year, they really blew up. They doubled in size unexpectedly. And this was a result of key decision makers in the industry wanting to be involved. People are waking up, finally. So really, we're going to kind of rework that and make sure we're tailoring the meetings and into different sections. So development, production, distribution, acquisition, just different kind of sections, so that way we're very efficient and just create as many opportunities and build each of these spaces to essentially be their own kind of activation points. So we're really excited about that. And yes, so that's that. Those are just some of the hints that are coming up for Imaginative in October. So that's that. I'm talking a lot. God.
In terms of the festival too, just keep in mind that our submissions are currently open. You can get all the information on our website, www.imaginative.org. All the submissions are currently open, so for film and video, for digital and interactive, and also for audio. And all the information is online, from our artistic policy to our eligibility for each of those sections.
Great. So I just wanted to talk very briefly just about some of the programs. If you haven't read, we had an announcement in January about the 16 recipients of our programs that are in process right now. So it's 4 commission mentorship programs: the Calgary Society of Independent Filmmakers, Charles Street Video, LIFT, and the New Brunswick Filmmakers programs are all in process right now. All of our 4 filmmakers, who are all seem really interesting, doing all very different types of work, are all in process, having worked on their scripts, and they're working on getting into production. So we're really excited about that. We'll hopefully have an update on our blog or on the Institute newsletter, just updates about those particular projects, so you can look forward to them premiering at the festival. We have a couple screenwriting-focused mentorships that are happening, and one is our story editing mentorship, which is in its 4th iteration, which is an opportunity for an Indigenous artist interested in the story editing process rather than screenwriting, to give them a 1-year, or 8-month intensive working directly with Harold Greenberg Fund and Alan Backus to help develop their skills in the story editing context, literally getting in on reading scripts, learning how to give notes, being in on the board meetings, getting access to some events like the Toronto Screenwriting Conference. And it's really been, that was kind of one of the first initiatives when we have been very focused on key creatives, directors, writers, and producers. Part of the Institute, I think, is to populate, I just call it like the decision-making tree, and that all the people around those creatives, that we influence and indigenize the presence of these ideas into all those decision-making processes. So the idea that, great, we have Indigenous screenwriters writing scripts, they get submitted and the jury looks at it, but there's no one with that perspective in there evaluating it to really understand, maybe some of the qualities that are inherent in that storytelling. So we've done that for 4 years. Eva Thomas was our first recipient, and she's available for hire. She's working on our other initiative right now, our Indigenous Screenwriting Intensive. Yes, and also supporting our commission. So she's really story editing with all these things that we already have in production, and it's going really well. We have a couple people here who she's already working with.
But wait, tell us more about that project.
Yeah, the Screenwriting Intensive?
Yeah.
That's what I was just going to do.
There we go. Look at that.
I know, don't worry, I could have forgotten easily. So yeah, I just want to take a moment just to talk about one of these particular programs that we're having incredible, I think it's just having an incredible impact on the creatives, and really ties in how the Imaginative Institute can do something that's really unique, inherently Indigenous in terms of learning, in terms of storytelling, that you don't get from some of the other amazing professional development programs that are out there in the industry. So this program is kind of the first that we've tried to exercise within this new 365 space, and how can we, further deepen the impact by creating these opportunities. So we have 4 feature film screenwriters, 2 Canadian and 2 US, who are developing from the treatment phase through their drafts to a final phase, through packaging and polishing, and giving them an opportunity with the support of ACTRA to present a section of their work to an amazing group of people, hopefully producers who maybe want to option these scripts into the future. So we're thinking about a program that has anchor points of the festival to kick it off, to go through the process, to then celebrate that, and then get them off into the world. Get going, you scripts. So we're really my babies are going. Anyway, so we're really excited. We have 4 people, and actually someone is here in our audience right now. It's Gail Maurice.
Woo, Gail Maurice.
She's one of 4 recipients, and actually, Gail, would you want to mind coming up just and talking for a couple minutes? Do you want to? You don't have to. Everyone want to meet you, get excited.
Woo, Gail Maurice.
Here, just come.
Oh my God, I'm excited.
She's so excited.
I'm so excited.
Gail, hey. Thanks for coming.
Yay!
I was like, please get Gail, come.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you want to just tell us a bit about just the process of getting your work to the point that you're at? Tell us where you're at right now, and just how it's been up until now, and your feelings, and just the opportunity.
So I've handed in my first feature draft. I'm so excited. I'm out of breath. I'm so excited. But it's the first time I've actually worked with like a story editor, script editor, and also people that are part of the Harold Greenberg Fund and influenced by them, and just getting feedback, professional feedback from editors, story editors, for my idea. And yeah, it's been really helpful. And as a writer, because I'm stuck in my own little world, right? And to hear these ideas come at me, at first you get resistant because you're so married and you have these ideas. But it's interesting because I'm learning to sit back and to hear and to listen, to take away and to think about it. And then from there I go, okay, it could work, yeah. So, it's like bringing these voices, melding with mine and putting it on paper. Yeah.
And do you want to just,
I love it.
You could just give a one sentence line just to like pique people's interest, the name of it
Oh, the name of it is
Yeah.
Rosie. And it's about a little Indian girl who is forced to live, a little indigenous orphan girl who has to go live with her reluctant dildo selling auntie. So that,
Yeah.
But
So look
I
forward
love
to
it.
that.
What's that?
No, I said just look forward to it.
Yeah, and thank you so much. Imaginative is great, and I just heard about all these things, these programs, and I'm going to go on there right away as soon as I finish this. Yeah.
You have to leave early.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, Gail. Just
Yeah.
sorry to bring you up, but I just thought we want your energy here.
Thank you.
So great. So look forward to these. Like that's just all the stories are so exciting. They're so different. We're thrilled. So thank you so much for doing that. And I just want to update on a little thing. Is like I mentioned, our on-screen pathways and protocols initiative. We announced it basically a year ago at the Hot Docs Doc Summit. We were the keynote speakers to finally launch it. And it's been a little glacial, but we're actually at the point where we've had a gathering of our national advisory together. We've done some pre-consultant research work, and now we're working on activating our in-community consultations. So do you want to, I don't know if we would need to add much more, but it's
No,
in
I'll just add
process.
that our former board chair, Marcia Nickerson, is the lead of this particular project. And if anyone has any questions about these things, they can contact the Institute, again, through our website.
Yeah. In process. Okay, so now we'll go in and talk about some of the things that we've been to the last 6 months or been working on. So I think we'll start off with the first one we did in the new year, which is Berlin and the Native Indigenous Cinema. Is that you? There you are. Anyway, so this is an initiative, if you don't know, that's in its 4th year. So this is a market accompaniment to the Native Indigenous Cinema Program, which is a special series at the Berlinale that started
In
2013.
2013.
2013, on which Jason Ryle has been an advisor and really helped cultivate the relationship with the Berlinale to be open to really experiencing this content. We've had a couple amazing curators and programs over the years to kind of kick it off, and it's become a very robust and special place at the market. So the Berlinale has this series of public programming. So every other year, the Native programs about 25 to 30 films that are part of the public. Incredibly well, like the attendance is pretty incredible who come out to these. They focus on a different region every year. So not this year, but last year was the circumpolar region. Next year is Pacifica, if I'm not mistaken. And so we worked with the Canada Council and Native to say, okay, we have these presentation opportunities, but what about a market opportunity? We know that there's a real lack of Indigenous presence or Indigenous-made film in these market settings. Where do we create the business? We have the art. It's great. Let's get to the business and create opportunities through this, incredible storytelling and award-winning art. So, so we have a stand there. So it's, if you haven't been to Berlinale, it's one of my takeaways is it's one of the most exciting places to be as a city, as an Indigenous creative. I think we're really have woken up the industry there through our continued presence there to be really engaged and interested. It's, every year it just keeps kind of growing exponentially, but I think it's kind of a key. If you had to pick a market to go to, other than coming to Imaginative, I would choose that as it right now. There's a whole community. We end up having between 30 and 40 different Indigenous creatives. The amount of intersection just between the groups is just as important as who you're meeting, at other stands. So the way it works is it's a stand that's in a giant, think of like a trade show. They actually it's a museum, and they take out all the art and put in all these booths. So we have a booth where you can take meetings where we promote up to 12 different Indigenous directed, at least, feature films that are ready for the market. So market means they're kind of made and ready to start doing sales. They've maybe done some festival runs and they're ready to start getting sold through territories, or they're in developments. They're ones that they're trying to get pre-sales, trying to get partnerships to maybe do international co-productions and that kind of stuff. Yes, did you want to tell me something?
No, I was just indicating for them to come in.
Oh, come in. So we do that. So I work with Adriana and Jason. The three of us go, and Adriana kind of person's the stand. And takes those kind of incoming opportunities. We have 11 other stand partners. So it's not just Imaginative, it's key institutions and festivals that support Indigenous content. So the Maoriland Film Festival, the New Zealand Film Commission, the Native program itself, the Sundance Institute, the International Sami Film Institute, Vision Maker Media. So really international partners. They all come and contribute to the stand. They're also there to also take meetings, but they support some of these projects, but also support producers to come. So in addition to having the stand to take meetings, we also have something called the Native Producer Fellows Program. So this is an intensive 1-week program where they have a dedicated coordinator who's worked at the European film market for 8 years. And what you do is submit. It's an international program. It's one of our few, but hopefully of many more international programs where we want submissions from any producer, Indigenous producer from around the world, to apply with a project in development and talk about their potential strategy and what goals they might want to have bringing it into a marketplace. We then select, in this instance, it was 6 of them to come, and they identify their goals and work with the coordinator to really do a curated program based on their project goals. So it's kind of like, doing a lab, but you're sometimes getting access to the co-production market where not that many people get in. You get to have a visit. You might identify a sales agent that a particular film might match up with, but then there's other discussions that maybe they should all be part of. So it's really very tailor-made. It doesn't really exist at that market other than one other program that we're mentioning, but it's been highly, I think, impactful and has really changed a lot of our artists' kind of understanding of all the potential that their stories have out in the international market. So in terms of that, right after Imaginative this year, we will launch the applications for that. So in terms of a date, if not ready for the festival this year, we will open up those applications, and then the decisions are made roughly in December, and we help pay for you to come, pretty much. So it's very expense paid, making it as accessible as possible. And then, there's also another program there called Talents, which is an annual summit and networking platform as part of the Berlinale for 250 outstanding creatives from the fields of film and drama series. So it's kind of a larger forum where a whole bunch of people from all different types of creative backgrounds coming together who are very established. I think it's a minimum of 10 years that they need to be working in the industry. But we've had Carolyn Monet has been part of it. Amy Batel-Bassi was there this year. She's part of our blog, actually. She gave her perspective in our most recent blog about her upcoming project, and just how that impacted. So that's another program that, again, we'll make sure we communicate the details out to you, but it's kind of around the summer. It's actually a pretty early deadline, so just make a note, early summer, go on the Berlinale Talents website and find out when those application deadlines are. So I think our biggest takeaway, we've done many things there. The series, it really propelled me to understand that we need to have a series day here. I went to the series conference, really interesting stories coming out, and really interesting diversity and inclusivity perspectives coming out that I think we can really influence and make a bit more robust. And just that there's growing interest with producers there wanting to work on collaborative projects. I think we're really on the cusp of international co-productions coming to fruition. And the panels that we have there are now packed. We can't contain the people who have interest in them. And I think it's really just as part of the effort that we've made over the last many years for that. So the next thing we'll talk about, and maybe, do you want to talk for a minute? Okay, I'm just gonna move back on that, but we're gonna go to the Indigenous Film Conference, and Jason can maybe talk a bit about what that is and what happened.
Sure. I mean, there's so many exciting opportunities coming down the pipes and already underway here. So, I mean, it's really great, Daniel, also just to hear you speak about what's been happening to date over the past 6 months, but really what's been coming down. So last month, I had the pleasure of attending the Indigenous Film Conference in Guarugeno, Sapmi, that was organized by the International Sami Film Institute. And I mean, aside from being such an incredible event, it was a gathering of about 120 leaders, filmmakers, funders who were at this event. And really one of the exciting ventures that came out of this that we really want to speak to, pertinent to the Institute specifically, and opportunities for Indigenous content creators, screen content creators, is the official launch of the Arctic Indigenous Film Fund that happened at the conference. So the Arctic Indigenous Film Fund is an international collaboration with partners from countries represented by the circumpolar Arctic region, including Canada, Greenland, Sapmi, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Russia, and Alaska. And the overall goal of the Film Fund, Daniel, as you're well aware, is to support film and TV productions and co-productions with Indigenous filmmakers from the Arctic circumpolar region and create new financing models that facilitate audiovisual production by Indigenous filmmakers in the Arctic and from the Arctic. And our hands are really raised to the incredible Anna-Lila Utsi and Lisa Holmberry of the International Sami Film Institute, who are tireless advocates for Indigenous-made work, phenomenal organizers, phenomenal thinkers, phenomenal planners, and the International Sami Film Institute is really someplace you should check out. I do want to, at the announcement, we were very pleased to see such strong support from Canadian national funders, including the Canada Media Fund, Telefilm Canada, and the Nunavut Film Development Corporation, in addition to fund partners Greenland Filmmakers, which is also known as Film GL, and the Archie Film Association from the Saga Republic. In addition to the Arctic Film Fund, which, by the way, is still seeking funding partners, and it's a long-term initiative, they have a number of different programs and projects currently underway and in development through ISFI, through the International Sami Film Institute, one of which is called Arctic Chills, and the first cohort of which is already underway, and it's the development and production of a series of short films, horror stories, supernatural stories from the Arctic circumpolar region. So it's a really incredible, exciting project, and there's certainly going to be a few Canadian films that receive production in there. So it's a great initiative to be part of. I had the pleasure of being one of the mentors for the development of the treatment, and I can say it's really exciting and it's really fun, and I learned so much from that weekend.
And maybe do you just want to talk a bit about what the conference, like what were the goals of the conference, aside from that fund being announced?
Well, the International Sami Film Institute, the Sami Film Center at the time, hosted the first Indigenous Film Conference up in Guarugeno back in 2011. And so almost 7 years later, this was really the first opportunity, I think, for a group of filmmakers, funders, thinkers, and leaders in the fields to come together. Part of it really was to launch the Indigenous Film Fund, the Arctic Indigenous Film Fund. Part of it too was really to touch base, I think, and take a temperature in terms of what's happening. There's been a lot of exciting movement and ventures, of course, including here in Canada with the Indigenous Screen Office. I think that's such a tremendous development in international and Indigenous screen production that really people from all over the world are seeing as a beacon for what can be done and what should be done in regions where such support doesn't exist. So I think it was a really great opportunity, I think, for all of us to come together, take temperature in terms of where we're at, and realize that sort of what tremendous change happened over the past 6.5 years between these conferences, to see the growth and proliferation of distribution opportunities for Indigenous-made work at festivals and different venues, seeing successes from different regions. I mean, we've had the rise of filmmakers like Amanda Cornell, whose Sami Blood has been in Swedish cinemas for over a year. It's been phenomenal. Of course, Taika Waititi and the work that he's been doing has been incredible. Yeah. And I think what was really great there is that all the heads of the Scandinavian film institutes were in attendance. And that was something, I think, 6 years ago that ISFI or really anyone involved in that was probably not possible at that time. And I think I do also raise my hands to Valerie Creighton and Michel Pradier, who were there representing Canada Media Fund and Telefilm Canada. And really, aside from Norway, Canada is giving the most to the Arctic Indigenous Film Fund. And I think that sort of really shines a spotlight in terms of general commitment to supporting of Indigenous-made production in this country.
Very exciting. And it was a hot topic on social media and stuff, was it not? It got picked up quite
the Arctic
heavily.
Indigenous. Yes, it did. I mean, there's a few great articles from Screen International. So you can I think we have them linked on our website, or at the very least, if you just Google the the Indigenous Film Conference, and there's a few articles that Screen International did that are quite fantastic, and they talk about some exciting new projects coming in the works too down the pipes.
Awesome. So the last thing on our list of things that we've been to that are relevant to this conversation is the TIFF Kids Forum that we went to in March this year. So as you may or may not know, TIFF has its large festival of everything, but they also have a very robust children's festival, which used to be called Sprockets for many years. It changed to TIFF Kids maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And accompanying that, they've now started a forum, so kind of a little mini industry conference. Something that we've always wanted to go to, but it was always right after Berlin and just capacities, and I'm tired and it's just not going to happen. But we went this year, and I wish I had gone I just wish I had gone since the beginning. I was really impressed with just how, for such a small conference, the quality of programming that was there. And just like, not in all, I mean, I guess we knew this because we experienced this at the festival with the lack of Indigenous representation in front and behind the camera, that it really became quite obvious there what an opportunity this was for our creatives. Historically, we received very few films that we could categorize under age 13. Typically, most of our films are 13 plus. Or even if we have a film program that has, under that, it's a short film, but in the context of like 6 other shorts we have to program, it ends up being a 13 plus program because we just don't have the dearth of that. It's been really, part of my inkling for realizing this was going to Berlin and having so many children's film festivals come up to our stand and say, "What do you have for children's programming?" And we'd be like, we have that one from 2011. What was it called? We have one, like a handful of ones over a smattering of years that are really kind of universal. That would be, a lot of them tend to not have any language in them, so they're kind of those universal things that children, any child could kind of understand.
Yeah, just a point of clarification too. I mean, we're talking specifically about short films. There's certainly a lot of production in television, for example, but in terms of the short film world or the feature film world, it's really this under 13 area that we're looking at. One of the events that I went to that I really thought was quite eye-opening is Denmark. We love Denmark. I mean, their Film Act specifies that at least a minimum of 25% of national film funding should be targeted to the production of children's works, and I think that's phenomenal. I think when we consider Indigenous screen content and the fact that there is such a dearth of it, I think out there. I mean, what we really want to look at are strategies and partnerships, and hopefully to inspire others to really look at this field and really take it on to develop. So we have nothing to announce specifically in that regard, but I mean, it's something that we'd love to develop.
Yeah, I think our takeaway is of the many meetings we took, even though, yes, in some areas, like APTN has done many children's programming, from the meetings we took one-on-one, it was like they could mention one thing that they did. Oh, we did this 3 years ago. Or we're doing this one production now. And I'm like, is this actually an Indigenous led production? But they're like, oh, that's the production. So I think I just feel like, and I feel like an advocate half the time, like you really need to look at the diversity of your programming and really evaluate these projects and if they are really being led by that, and being very aware that I think many of our artists don't consider that even as an avenue to explore. And I think that is what we want to do. We want to spend a day to really acknowledge the work that has been done, what are the successes, what have been the challenges in the industry, and really showing that the leaders at the top, at the top of the CBC and Shaw want to do these productions and are looking for pitches and proposals. And I think just the opportunity to explore that with these people at Imaginative. Anyone who's working on content now, but maybe has a thought to maybe work on something with a children or youth bent, there is a market waiting to happen. So we're trying to work to make sure, again, like at TIFF Kids, that we have a solid Indigenous presence of creators coming to, bring their perspectives and stories and engage with those people. So I was totally blown away at the opportunities that came from that. So, so I mean, here we are. That was kind of like a lot, maybe. Was that a lot? I don't know. Was that a little? I don't know. We talk a lot. But I wanted to just, open it up to the floor, to our online. Are there people watching over? Is there anybody out there? Yeah, okay, great. Does anybody have any questions here within our little wonderful group about any of these things? Or are you just like, whoa? Whoa.
Hi.
Yes.
Imaginative, when did it start? I came in late. So it's a group of people funding Indigenous film in Ontario, Canada-wide.
No, we're not a funder. So we're an organization based right here. Our offices are just around the corner here specifically. So we're an organization who's mandated to support the work of Indigenous screen content creators working in film, audio, digital, and interactive media. Yes, exactly. We also show exhibitions, and also with our professional development stream with the Imaginative Institute to support the professional development of screen content creators as well. We have been going for 19 years, so this coming October will be our 19th festival. And the festival has been for most of our history, has been our primary activity. But 15 years ago, we kicked off the Imaginative Film and Video Tour. And really, over the past several years, have become much more of a year-round organization. I mean, our festival is still our primary activity that we do, but of course, with the launch of the Institute and other activities, it's become much, much more of an ongoing year-round organization. So it's quite exciting. And I think the organization really has been punctuated by quite profound periods of growth. We have two of our former executive directors here in the building and in the room too, who have been very key to the development of this organization. And I think we're finding ourselves again at the threshold of another forward trajectory. So it's a very exciting time.
Right, and as like a non-Indigenous ally, how is it best to get involved?
Well, I think there's so many ways.
Depends on if you just want to start just getting familiar with our work in the community. We recommend you to volunteer with us. We have, like tonight, because Hot Docs is happening, we have one lovely volunteer who showed up. But yes, there's opportunities now year-round, now that we have this space that we moved into only a year ago. We're going to be doing a lot more kind of year-round events, so that's a great way just to kind of dip your toes in the lake of Imaginative and figure out what you really like. That's how I started. Many of our staff members or volunteers, I started volunteering here. I don't even know when it was, but...
we both started as volunteers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Many of us actually did start as volunteers here at the organization. Yeah. A lot of our staff member has as well. But obviously, come to the festival. I think experiencing what the festival is about is a strong cornerstone to understanding what the organization is about, and also what the filmmakers are talking about, what the realities that they're reflecting, the artistic visions that they're reflecting in their stories. I think that's a really important way to support. Yeah. Thanks for coming. Does anybody else have any questions or digital questions in the ether? Nobody has any. I guess it was probably a lot. You're just like, whoa. Yes.
First of all, I can tell you guys are both really excited, and it's so refreshing. What is the single thing that you're most excited about for this year?
You? Do you want to go first?
No, this is like Sophie's choice. This is that question that we always get that we can't make.
What person is going to say, you didn't choose mine?
Well,
you go.
So, Daniel is the Institute in terms of overseeing that particular department. I'm looking after the artistic element related to the festival and year-round initiatives. I think one of the things I'm looking forward to, quite a lot actually, is of course this year's coming up, but also our 20th anniversary is next year. And we're in the very early stages of starting to develop programming for that. But looking ahead and contemplating 20 years, I think, is something that is pretty extraordinary, not just for Indigenous screen content, for the Indigenous media arts community, but for the larger media arts community in this country and internationally. I've been with the organization for quite a while, and I remember us turning 6, and the idea of us being 8 was just like, oh my God, it was crazy. And I think what's really incredible, and it's one of the things that's really sort of captivating my mind right now, is looking back at what this 2 decades of programming has meant. And looking back and really understanding that we can actually go back now and sort of look at what Cree cinema is, or two-spirited representation in short films. So we're able to kind of, I think, look back and look at this body of work. And I'm getting tingles. And this is like the first time, I think, in sort of this kind of thing at this scale has really been able to be achieved. And I'm incredibly excited by that.
Yeah, I think that should be a fun.
Yeah, it is great. Daniel?
And as you can tell, I get excited about everything. But great when I'm with a funder and I can't shut up. But I think my thing that I have taken away just in the last little bit is the excitement of these films really getting out to the larger Canadian audience. I took a picture of Indian Horse, which is out in theaters right now. I took a picture of it being on the side of the Cineplex wall and was just like so excited that these stories are getting like they're getting picked up. They're seeing that there is like an economy and there's a larger audience that's interested in it. There's been so many, really interesting discussions around that work, and I'm just excited to see more of these things in these moments. There's so many amazing artists who have done amazing work tied to things that we've done, and then they've done more amazing work. We see it like a ladder. Like we're only as successful as our artists are successful, and it's been a ladder of success, I think, and I'm just so excited to see what are the projects that are going to be like the iconic films that everybody finally gets, right? I think we're really at that point right now. It's exciting.
And we're at the right time. I mean, there's still clearly a lot of work to be done, and I think the Indigenous Screen Office is another point to celebrate. I mean, this again is something that's never been done in this country before, and the potential and promise that this organization has, especially with Jesse Wente at the helm, I think is going to be something absolutely transformative in terms of the industry and just the fabric of our Indigenous national cinemas.
Yeah.
Congrats.
There you go. So I think that's it. I guess we're going to say goodnight to you all internationally, or good morning if you're in Australia or New Zealand. This is Daniel Frank signing off.
Thank you so much for joining us, both here and in person and online.
Thank you.
And please, again, remember to check our website. We'll have all the information and links for all the bits and bobs that we've talked about tonight. So thanks again.
Thank you. And now join us for some wonderful food. Let me just take a quick moment just to thank all the amazing staff at Imaginative, Adriana, Claudia, Sufyan, Amy, and thank Cookham Kitchen, who is our volunteers, of course, our wonderful videographers, and Cookham Kitchen, who has provided the food that you're about to try this evening. So please help yourself, have a drink, and we'll hang out here for another hour. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.